Hey, what's up? It's Gabriella Martay here from Helps Too. So I'm super stoked today because it's a brand new era for us and we're doing something that we've been wanting to do for over about 3 years now. And this is the moment that we're starting it. So I'm just soaking it all in. I have Andre, one of our favorites here at Helps Too. He does video with us. And I'm here. I'm the director of Helps Too. And our Helps Too crew is like kind of all remote right now. But we are here starting a podcast. Today is the day. We've been dreaming about this for a long time. We are presenting it to you as the Creatives Conversation. And what it's going to look like is we're going to have a bunch of different creatives on, I guess we could just call it the show, to come through and talk about different subjects, like from everything business to personal life to one-on-one coaching sessions where we go over how to build a business and the strategy. So here we go. We're going to jump on in. So because we're starting something, I wanted to actually start our first podcast with that whole theme in mind. How do you start something? Yesterday, I was at dinner with my girl Kendra, and we were talking about what it looks like as a creative or an entrepreneur, or if you're a creative pursuing, some kind of financial sustainability, you are now an entrepreneur as well. What does it look like when you're starting something? And where do you start? Like if you are passionate, like Kendra was, I hope you don't mind Kendra, but if you're passionate about like shoes and dancing, where do you start to even make that a thing that you do and you can sustain your life with in terms of like finances and paying your rent and stuff? So we talked about that last night, and I'm a musician. When I'm not doing Helps Too stuff and directing the team, I'm out here doing music and doing my own creative thing with that. So I have like probably 10 years, if not more, I think like 10, 12 years under my belt when it comes to actually trying to do that. The first couple years, if not more, like first half of the decade of me doing music was just, it was fun. It was something I loved to do. It was just, I was lighting up because of the actual craft. But then eventually you start thinking, I want to do this all the time. And so me going to my job and doing something completely different that does not bring me life is getting in the way of something that does bring me life. And I can't tell you that just doing music, which I have just done music. Like I just came out of a season of just doing music for like the last 5 years. It was nothing but music, and Helps Too. But then, I started taking on other projects because I was like, I want to diversify. But I remember that season of, I just want to do music. And I was like, but how do I do that? How do I get there financially? And so I was talking with Kendra, and she asked me so blatantly, she was like, yo, Gabs, how do I even begin to pursue like all of the creative projects that I have in my mind and my heart? And I said, a lot of people don't think about it this way, but because I've gone through the creative journey with my music and I'm still in it and I'm deep in it now, I can honestly tell someone, hey, if you really want to do something with all of your time, like you don't want to work a job and do your craft, which we have videos about that on our YouTube channel, about how sometimes you have to work a job to work yourself into your craft. So like, it doesn't have to always be one or the other. Like a lot of us here at Helps Too, we worked jobs or are working jobs and doing our crafts. And so I think there's a lot of shame in like the creative circles that goes around like, oh, you still work a full-time job or you work a part-time job. You're not really a creative. No, like the simple fact that you're producing stuff as a person who has a creative brain makes you a creative. So let's jip that. But how do you, like, where do you begin? That's what I wanted to talk to Kendra about. And the reality I told her that a lot of creatives don't think about is that you need to reverse engineer. So where do you want to land with your craft? Like for sure you want to influence people, right? Like when it comes to me, Martay, the musician, I long to influence people. That's why I do music. I love changing people's moods, their hearts. I love giving them hope and joy through music and showing them love through music. But at the end of the day, for me to sustain that craft, what can I do to sustain it? So I always tell people, start with your revenue model, because your creative journey is a little bit of a business, if not a lot of a business. What is going to bring you money? What's your money maker? So for me, musically, my money maker is doing shows. I make the most money when someone brings me in to do a show. It is what it is. And if you look at other artists who are musicians, it's oftentimes the same thing for them, unless they start like a perfume line or something really random. But, you know, it starts with your money maker. And then all of a sudden you have this thing, like kind of something that draws the people in to eventually give into your money maker. So the way I explained it to Kendra last night over dinner was, you have your money maker, we're reverse engineering. So this is backwards, right? Your money maker, your revenue model. So as a musician, that is me playing shows. I can make a little bit of revenue off of Spotify, a little bit of revenue off of, you know, sales of merchandise. But my main maker for me personally, it could change per artist, is the shows. Now, how am I going to get the people to the shows? And what's going to be the thing that initially, the first thing they see that draws them in? And what that looks like in your everyday, right, as a creative is, I do a music video with Andre. He helps me to shoot a video. I put it on Instagram, I put it on YouTube, I put it on Facebook. I put a little bit of ad spend behind that video. Let's just say $50. Some people go crazy, $100, $500. You know, it depends on who you are and what you're doing and the goals you want to happen. I put some ad spend behind that music video. People who have never known me start seeing it. Now, there's probably a numbers game depending on like who you are and what you're doing, right? I would say, let's just say like 1 out of every 50 people that see this follows me. All of a sudden they're interested, right? They're interested in what I do. And this middle ground of like, now I need to suck them in. Like that was the first like attention grabber, that ad, that music video. Now I need to get them more involved, suck them into what I like to call, I'm a nerd though. I'm in the marketing realm. So I speak nerd talk. We call them funnels, like getting someone sucked into the funnel, but like just sucked into who you are. Let's just say it that way. Let's keep it simple. Sucked into who you are as a creative artist, entrepreneur. For me, that would be like, hey, I'm giving out a free EP, 5 songs for free, which I have done. It was actually wildly successful. 5-song free EP. If you sign up for my newsletter, boom, I got them sucked into my funnel. Now this new fan, this new listener is getting all of my emails that I send every month for me. Some people are a little more regular with it, but me, I'm a monthly emailer when it comes to music. Helps too. I think we do one every 2 weeks. Just depends on what your audience really wants and what you want to give them. So now they're sucked into my newsletter, and this is the way I start really showing them who I am. And we go a little bit deeper in the newsletter, and then, you know, 6 months goes by. It's touring season. It's time to tour. I'm coming to their city, and they show up. And that is the craziest thing. Now, let me just tell you, that's not the only way to do it, right? But that's reverse engineering how I'm making my money, because the money to sustain my craft happens when somebody comes to my show and pays for a ticket, or, you know, buys a shirt at a show. My money comes from shows. So that is what it looks like. Now, when you're creative, what you have to do is sit down with what you desire to do and figure out your revenue model and how you can create what I'm going to call a funnel, a way to suck people into eventually giving in and to participating in that revenue model. And that is what this is all about. As a creative, you have to sustain your craft. Otherwise, you just end up kind of doing it for 3 months, 6 months, going to get a job, doing it for another 3 months, 6 months. And you're like yo-yoing. You're like back and forth, back and forth. Or if you don't ever think about it, some people never get started. Like I've met a lot of creatives who are phenomenally talented. It's not really about talent. It's just they don't know where to start. And I think this picture of like, hey, if you reverse engineer with these 3 components, you have your revenue model, the thing that sucks them in to eventually giving into the revenue model, and the attention grabbing thing that finds them right where they're at, those 3 things, you can really become someone that is sustaining their craft and influencing others and truly doing what you're loving to do, what you love to do, what you're called to do, and that's create however you're called to create. So that's what we talked about last night, and I'm excited to dive into this podcast. This is just the introduction. I'm excited to dive in because I don't just feel, I understand, I see a lot of people who are creatives, number one, but they don't really know where to start, this is the first podcast on that. But not just that, but they feel discouraged. They feel like it's beyond them. They're not really quite sure how to reach people. They're not sure how to do certain things and whatever. So let's talk about it. The Creatives Conversation. I think this is the foundation for a lot of people. I don't want to say earning their wings, but being given their wings to do what they're called to do and fly with it. So I'm excited. Our next conversation is going to be something really fun and wild, probably. We're going to be inviting people on the show. Like I said earlier, Amber Huffman, our brand manager here at Helps 2, will be jumping in with us. And until we really get started, I want y'all to follow us. We're going to be doing a weekly podcast. So if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And if you're on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this, make sure you follow, because it's going to be a weekly thing. And we have so much in the works here at Helps 2. Like, it is mind blowing. We came out with a book last September in 2020. And now we're coming out with a hard copy of that book. We're coming out with a course. And maybe I'm totally blowing the cover of all the excitement that we're like waiting to announce, but I'm just going to go for it anyways. And we're coming out with something called the KC, the Kansas City, because we're located foundationally here in Kansas City, cohort, the KC cohort, where creatives are going to get together, able to just converse and network and go to different events together and really pick each other's brains so that they can grow together. And that's what this is going to look like. Let's grow together. Let's become friends. Follow us. Let's do this. The Creatives Conversation. Here we go.